You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we're going to talk about Derrick Rose's officially retiring from the NBA. Yeah, I'm sad too. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we got lots of comments from Arturas Karnisovas and head coach Billy Donovan on what to expect from the Bulls next season. We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Haize. I'm host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central's YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with a $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Bulls fans, let's get into it, man. I have not been looking forward to this episode. I'm not even going to lie to you guys, man. Like, I've been dreading. I've already had to talk about it three times actually already today. I prayed over on the Windy City Breeze with my boy, Pat, the designer. I did an emergency live stream on Derrick Rose's retirement over on Chicago Bulls Central, and then had to turn around and talk about it on the daily episode of Chicago Bulls Central. So I've talked a lot about Derrick Rose officially retiring from the NBA, already more than I had wanted to start off my day, but we got kind of more details and things to come out. So as most people know, just kind of set the stage and what happened here is that Derrick Rose reached a buyout with the Memphis Grizzlies a few days ago. And a lot of people thought because it was a buyout that meant that, maybe he was going to go somewhere else or maybe try to ring chase or anything like that. Turns out to officially decide to retire, and he did it in the most classy way, period. Later yesterday, he released kind of a teaser video, and it led to more speculation that he was probably going to retire. It got announced super early this morning that Derrick Rose officially retired about 6 a.m. Chicago time. Did that get announced? And he took out an ad in every city that he played on in a newspaper in those cities. So 6 different newspapers he took out ads on to thank the fans in those respective cities. And this sucks, man. This sucks. Like, Derrick Rose isn't the first player that I've gotten to watch all the way from college to this NBA career. That actually was Baron Davis. Like, my first time really actually processing basketball and watching a player's full career was Baron Davis. But Derrick Rose is like the one that was a Bull. Like, it's crazy. And I've talked a lot of times about like how we ended up getting Derrick Rose, the fact that team was expected to go on a deep playoff run. We end up, not having a good season. We luck up and get the number 1 overall pick. We get the kid from Chicago. And a lot of great memories. A lot of younger Bulls fans, their heyday isn't the Michael Jordan era. They weren't alive there, right? So, like, a lot of the Bulls fans that were born in the mid to late 90s, Derrick Rose era is their heyday of being a Chicago Bulls fan. And I think, there's something special about that in it for everyone. Now, Michael Reinsdorfer's come out with a quote saying this: Derrick will always be family, and I look forward to having him and his kids back at the United Center for what's sure to be an unforgettable celebration of his incredible journey. And I couldn't put that any better myself. Derrick Rose has had an incredible journey. Just everything throughout his career, multiple-time All-Star, MVP, the youngest MVP in NBA history. Like, it really does suck that we're at this place where, Derrick Rose, his career was mainly taken away due to injury, right? Like, yeah, he played a lot of years, like 15 years, 16 seasons in the NBA is a long time. It's a long time, and you got to give him credit for being able to stick around that long. But it's like, what could have? Derrick Rose will always be one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history, not just Chicago Bulls history, in NBA history. For somebody to be able to win an MVP, and something that a lot of people forget as well is that Derrick Rose was a better player that year after winning the MVP. Like, yeah, he dealt with a lot of injuries up and down in that season and things like that, but he was a better player, or more refined player. And that Bulls team had a high ceiling, and unfortunately, it went down in the game against the Philadelphia 76ers. That's just kind of what it comes down to, man. But Derrick Rose, the amazing talent that he was, what he means to the city of Chicago. Even seeing somebody like Joe Cowley come out and say, "Oh, Derrick, try to crap on Derrick Rose, his legacy." Like, Derrick, like every MVP ever has made it into the NBA. I'm sorry, the Basketball Hall of Fame. And then on top of that, for him to be the multi-time All-Star, to be a Rookie of the Year, right, to go to NCAA championship, like Derrick Rose is going to be in the Hall of Fame. How long it takes him to get there, that's going to be a remaining thing to be seen. But Derrick Rose has the resume to be in the Hall of Fame, and I'm not even going to entertain anything other than that. Now, one of the things that a lot of Bulls fans have asked since this, I've asked this myself, could the Bulls sign Derrick Rose to a one-day ceremonial contract so he can officially retire as a Bull? And initially, I was hopeful of that. Casey Johnson came with some facts today, pulled some receipts, is that the Bulls have already reached the maximum offseason number of contracts at 21. So as of right now, they will not be able to sign Derrick Rose to a one-day contract so that he can officially retire as Chicago Bull. That's where it stands at. I hate it. It sucks. That's where we are right now. It doesn't mean that the Bulls can't look to do something creative maybe before the start of the season. Like, as long as Derrick Rose has not officially filed his retirement paperwork with the league, he'll have a chance to sign a ceremonial one-day contract. So, we'll see what happens with that. I hope that happens. I hope that happens because for one, I know it's selfish. I know it really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Like, Derrick Rose is going to be looked at as a Bull forever. Like he's going to be looked at as a Bull. We're going to embrace him. He's from the city of Chicago. He's always going to be looked at as a Bull. So a one-day ceremonial contract in the grand scheme of things means nothing. But while I'm not somebody who is big on pomp and circumstance, right? I'm not big on narrative things and stuff like that. Like, it does not feel right if Derrick Rose doesn't retire officially as a Bull and sign that one-day contract. He's always going to be a Bull. You can't take that away from him. There's nothing that anything, whether he signs a contract or not, could ever change about that. He's a Bull. He will be a Bull. He'll be going into the Hall of Fame as a Bull. When people look at some of his greatest highlights, it'll be as a Bull. All those things happen. It'll all be as a Bull, right? But, I hope that he signs that one-day contract. Now, the next question is, will the Bulls retire Derrick Rose's number? That's been the next question that a lot of Bulls fans have asked. And as we know, if you don't know, I'll tell you here, the Bulls don't retire numbers anymore. That's why the Ring of Honor was created for the Bulls last season, is because the Bulls do not plan on retiring jerseys anymore. They just don't do that. Now, one could say, should an exception be made for Derrick Rose? I could see that being the case, right? If you're going to make the exception for anybody like Derrick Rose, but then that's going to open up a floodgate. That's going to open up people to say, well, why didn't Dennis get his number retired, right? Why isn't Joe going to get his number retired? Like, those type of things. It brings that about if you start opening some of those floodgates. So I don't know if the Bulls look to do that now, right? So if Derrick Rose's number one is ever retired, I think that happens way down the road. The thing that can happen more soon is Derrick Rose going into the Ring of Honor for the Chicago Bulls. Now, keep in mind, you have to officially be retired for 3 seasons before the Bulls will consider you, and they do the Ring of Honor every other year. So we did it last year. It's not going to happen this season. Next season, Derrick Rose wouldn't be eligible, but the one after that, 2 years after that, which would put us at next year's 2025. So the 25-26 season will be the next one. The one after that would be the 27-29 season. So Derrick Rose is probably going to go in the Ring of Honor in the 2027-29 season. Did I count that all right? Yeah, I think I got that right. So that's when that will happen. And so we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens if he could. I don't think there should be any question about it. And honestly, I know some people may find it as a disrespect thing, but I hope that they kind of wait to enshrine Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah together in that Ring of Honor. I know Joakim Noah will technically be eligible for the next Ring of Honor next season in 2025-26, but I hope that they wait so those two guys can go in there together. I think that has to go down there. Yeah, in my opinion. Witten got a great comment here. Derrick Rose's number isn't officially retired, but it's retired. Nobody ever wearing that number again. Yeah, what we have, it was Michael Carter Williams and somebody else wore number 1 briefly, and they quickly found out you ain't about to give the number 1 up to anybody. So, Derrick Rose's number is definitely, unofficially retired for sure. And I don't think you could ever give, I won't say ever, right? Maybe 20 years down the road, maybe you can do that or something at that point. But no time soon can you even, nobody can wear number 1. Do you know how quick people would riot if the Bulls gave out number one to somebody. You already saw what we did to Michael Carter Williams. So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen for anybody, man, in my personal humble opinion. But with that said, man, yeah, I just wanted to spend the opening of this show. I don't typically like to bring topics that I covered over on Chicago Bulls Central over here to separate the two shows. But with the added information that came out with the Bulls unable to give him a one-day ceremonial contract, I figured on top of that, can you be a Chicago Bulls podcast and not lead with Derrick Rose retiring? I just don't think you can do that. But with that said, man, we got to get into the next topic for today, and that is that the Bulls have said, now with AK and Billy Donovan, they both have said that the Bulls are committed to still winning games next season. So a tank is not coming. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but first we got to get into a message from one of our sponsors, and that is Gametime. I'm sorry, and I said Gametime. I actually meant PrizePicks. Flip that. So yeah, had that wrong. But with that said, PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Caleb Williams passing yard gets you one win on PrizePicks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss the deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. Listen, we got one more game left in September. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win. I know that the Bears offense has been a bit of a struggle, but listen, that's a good bet. Take that bet. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks your pick are safe and still live. Player and stats taps. I messed that up badly. But with that said, man, make sure you guys stay locked in with PrizePicks, man. PrizePicks is the #1 place for your daily fantasy. Download PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. Now, with that said, we also got another message, and this one is from Gametime. I had that mixed up a little bit. Nonetheless, plays mess up too. I told you guys before, man, everything is on right now. Live events, comedy, theater, NFL, MLB, everything is going on right now. WNBA playoffs. You can get your tickets over at PrizePicks. I told you guys, show your man a little bit more love. Go and buy them PrizePicks. Show your woman a little bit more love. Go and buy her some comedy or theater tickets. Or if you don't like them for real, you would them, but you don't like them, get them White Sox tickets. There's about 4 games left on the season. The White Sox tickets are already dirt cheap. You can save even more on it with PrizePicks because you don't even like your significant other a lot. Go over to PrizePicks, get them Sox tickets if you don't like them. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And with Gametime Seat View, which offers you a panoramic view of the seats, you can know exactly the angle that you're going to be able to see for your theater event, your comedy event, whatever it is, before you officially purchase. And Gametime has the best refund policy in the ticketing industry. If you find seats in the same section for less, Gametime will refund you 110% of the difference. That's the best policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Gametime helps you a lot out there, man. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's Gametime. All right, Bulls fans. We got to talk about it. The gaslighting has started once again, my fellow Bulls fans. And are we falling for it this year is the question. Because AK and Eversley have once again tried to sell us on the fact that they are planning on winning this season, that they are not tanking this season, that the Bulls are looking to stay competitive. Arturas Karnisovas saying this: we're going to try to win every game because going back to development, what goes into winning? And that's the only way you can teach those guys how to win games is going through that. with a lot of things to be determined, I think training camp will show us a lot of things. Now, we got some quotes from Billy Donovan as well on what could cause the Bulls some struggle as far as getting those wins. But once again, the Bulls are coming into a season where they don't own their own first round pick outright. The San Antonios have that if it is anything less than the top 10. And the Bulls have this roster now that they've put together. They've changed a lot of things. They've gone younger, right? But they still have Vooch and Zach LaVine on this roster. And so the question is that how competitive can the Chicago Bulls really try to be this season, right? And that's where you have to get into some of the other things, right, that's going on here. Like one thing that Billy Donovan did say is that the young players aren't going to get minutes just to get minutes. And that has been a question by a lot of Bulls fans is how are we going to balance this roster with these young guys? And from what Billy Donovan has said is that nobody's just getting minutes just because they're young. They're not getting that. RJ asks, how would the Bulls organization, if they came out and said, yeah, we're trying to lose, we know what we're doing, don't need them to say that. No, that's not true at all, because they wouldn't have to say nothing about winning. Here's the thing. If the Bulls team knew what team that we knew was going to be bad said, hey, we're trying to win. No, teams that like the Detroit Pistons didn't say they were trying to win and compete for the playoffs. They said we're developing, right? That's a different thing. You could easily change the buzzword. You don't have to mention win or losing if you're aiming to lose. This Bulls team, whatever you say or not, one thing that they have done every single season that they've been in charge of this is they've tried to win. They've put together the effort, the roster, and they've tried to win every single game. Billy Donovan is a coach that isn't taking. Now, one could say that the talent level that the Bulls have, and this is where I sit, right, is that I don't think the Bulls have a lot of talent on this team. Well, I think they have talent on the team, but it's not going to fit together as seamless as what, and they're going to have to go through growing pains. A team that won 26 games in the clutch last year out of 39, that team is going to struggle, right? And I think the thing is that's here that you have to look at and review is that this Bulls team is going to try to win every game. They're going to go out there and compete and win every game. And I think that you may see this young team that just doesn't know how to close out games, because that's what we saw last year, right? Is that we did not have the ability to close out a lot of games like we needed to last year. And even through that, we got 39 wins, but we're missing now our best clutch players. So I think that what Billy Donovan and AK are really saying here is that we're going to try to compete to win all these games. Now, are we going to be able to do that or not is the biggest question here, right? Billy Donovan kind of even admitting this. Getting stops, this is from Billy Donovan, getting stops are going to be a challenge for us. We're going to have to do it by committee. We're going to have to be creative to cover each other in certain situations. We're going to have to put a huge emphasis on contesting shots. No crap, Billy Donovan. No crap. Like, I'm glad that Billy Donovan is admitting getting stops is going to be tough for this team. So you got to recognize the duality in that messaging. We're trying to win, but we're not going to be able to get a lot of stops, right? So unless you're completely outscoring a team every night in and night out, it's going to be a difficult season for the Bulls. Now, a lot of Bulls fans, I've talked to a lot of them over this season. A lot of Bulls fans are hopeful that this Bulls team could win 40 wins. I don't know what they're seeing in this team. I don't say that. I don't see that. But the one thing in this, if you compare Billy Donovan saying that the young players aren't going to necessarily just walk into minutes, if you also pair in the fact that AK is saying that we're going to try to win every game and be competitive, which, all right, cool. We'll see how that ends up working out. Is this kind of more of a preference to say, yeah, we're going to be bad, but also if Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips still don't play, what are we doing? Right? That's where you start getting some questions in. And I'm glad that Billy Donovan is recognizing where this Bulls team is at as far as defense. The defense is going to be a struggle for this team this year. Mightily. They are going to struggle defensively. A team that's starting Josh Giddey, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic in your starting five is going to struggle defensively in pick and rolls, because you can attack any one of those players in pick and rolls. And while Kobe White isn't the greatest on-ball defender, he's been a very more active defender, and we know what Patrick Williams can be as a defender. But it's going to come down a lot to the effort, right? And that's what I think this season is going to be a lot about, is the effort and the development, more so than wins. Like, we can try to judge about wins or losses, whatever it comes down to there. But I think one of the biggest things and the most important things is the effort. What effort are these young guys giving you? How are they showing that they've earned the minutes that's coming to them on this team? right? Do they go out there and are they aggressive about getting it, or are they more passive, which is something that we've seen from some Bulls rookies in the past? When AK says that training camp is going to tell them a lot, I really believe that, because training camp is going to tell them who's ready. Who's ready to try to grab the bull by the horns? Who's ready, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens to that, man. We'll see overall what that's going to look like for the Bulls. I hope that the Bulls get a lot of development this season. I think that's going to help them a lot, and we'll see how that goes for us. But we got another message from another one of our sponsors we have to get into. This one's FanDuel. All right, I just told y'all a little bit earlier, man, that right now we're in the heyday of sports. Basketball is starting right around the corner. We're like 2 weeks away from preseason games in basketball. NFL is going into week 4. The WNBA playoffs are going on. The MLB playoffs are right around the corner as well. White Sox season is about to end. That's a good reason to celebrate in sports as well. You got a lot of that going on, but FanDuel has a great deal for you. NFL fans, you can start the season big with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. They putting it right in your hand. Make sure you guys check out FanDuel, man. You got to go to FanDuel.com again, just to rehash this with you guys. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. A lot of y'all are going to go out and spend $200 on a date that ain't going nowhere because she don't like you for real. She just wanted a meal. You can recoup some of that with a $5 bet and getting $200 back in bonus bets. Stop going out on pointless dates. Go and bet your money. Do that with FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com and tell them Locked On Bulls and Haize sent you. All right, so throughout this episode, I have told y'all how you guys can go out to events for people that you really don't like. Then I've told you how you can recoup some of the money spent on that. Come on, man. I'm out here giving y'all life advice. I'm helping y'all. Just listen, man. Listen to Uncle Haize, man. Listen to Unc. I'm telling y'all, I'm trying to get y'all right, but y'all don't want to listen. Y'all don't want to listen, man. I know Shane been on a date in 15 years. I'm trying to teach you how you can go. You can go out there and get you a nice ticket, a nice seat, and then recoup that money by placing bets on sports, something that I know you watch. Come on, man. I'm trying to help y'all out. With that said, man, while Billy Donovan was speaking to 670 The Score, he let some out on kind of how he views Lonzo Ball coming into the season. This has been a big talking point for a lot of people on what Ball's role is going to be on this team. And Billy Donovan, when he spoke, he said this: "We don't know how he's going to respond after games and practice because we haven't seen it. That's where we first have to start off with. The one thing I look at it from this lens is Lonzo loves to play. At his age, as much as he loves to play, he wants to make sure he plays beyond this year. So we have a responsibility to make sure he's in a position where he can play after the season, and it's not one of those things where it's not managed correctly." Billy Donovan goes on to say that they don't know if he's going to play back-to-backs. They don't know if he's going to be able to play. Is it 15 if it's 15 to 16 minutes? Can he play 20 to 25 minutes? They won't really know that until they see how his body reacts to being back in NFL and NBA games and things like that. So we'll see how that develops, man. We'll see how that develops. I think ultimately it comes down to this. The Bulls don't know. Now, it does seem that the Bulls are confident, at least, that Lonzo Ball is going to play in the 2024-25 season. I feel like there's some serious, seems like confidence from both Arturas, both Billy Donovan on Lonzo's ability to come back. The bigger question is that once he does get back, can they facilitate it? What kind of environment do they create for Lonzo Ball to come back and play those reserve and rotational minutes, which is something else that Billy Donovan said, is that the rotational minutes. So, I know a small few of Bulls fans that I've talked to and seen in the comments, we're still holding out hope that maybe Lonzo Ball is going to come back and be the starter for the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan has basically said and let us know that that's not going to be the case, but they are going to try to, they're going to try to work him into that rotation. And I think if Lonzo is cleared, right, because that's the first thing. He hasn't been cleared yet. If he's cleared, you do want to, experiment, right? You don't know if he can play back-to-backs. You don't know how his body's going to respond. It's easy to say, hey, players clear, they're going to go back out there, let's try to be Lonzo Ball, but how your muscles and stuff adjust to being back at the rigors of NBA, that's going to be the thing. And while Lonzo has things and parts of his game that shouldn't go away, the defense, the IQ, those are things that should be able to stay on and maintain, but you got to have your body be able to. And so even Billy Donovan saying that it's about making sure that Lonzo also can play beyond this season. Now, I know that's going to give a lot of people some hope that could mean a future with the Bulls. I don't necessarily hold out that hope to it. If they can do it, they can, right? We'll see what comes down with that. But I think ultimately you could see that there's confidence in Lonzo Ball making some shape or form of a return for the Chicago Bulls. You just got to see what it's going to be, man. And that's the question that we don't have. And that's what the Bulls are going to be trying to find an answer to over this season. And I think if Lonzo comes back, it's going to be interesting because we're so guard heavy, right? And I don't think at this point that he's coming in, he's not going to pass up Ayo Dosunmu. He's not going to do that. But there is still a role there for Lonzo. Even with Dalen, Julian Phillips, Modest Bucilis, Jalen Smith, it's going to be a restricted one. I don't think that Lonzo's going to have the same kind of fluidity that he had before as far as guarding up and down, at least not initially, right? Like he may regain that over time, but his first year back in the NBA after being out for 2.5 years, I just don't see him coming back and being able to be that versatile switchable defender that he left out being, at least not right away. And so having these benchmarks for Lonzo as you go through the season and to see how he responds to certain things in certain areas, that's going to be a really important part for Lonzo Ball. But I am glad that everybody seems confident he will return at some point this season. Is that going to be at the start of the season? We'll see. Is he going to be cleared for training camp? I mean, listen, we're 5 days away. 5 days away from training camp. So we got to find that answer at some point in time. He said, don't forget your boy Carter. Listen, I've already forgotten about him. But hey, it is what it is, man. Listen. A hobbled Lonzo Ball is better than Javon Carter. I think we've made that clear, right? Like ball-headed whole Javon Carter. Like it's at this point, like I get it. He has one fan, his cousin that comes in here trying to support him, but like at this point, Lonzo Ball definitely is passing up Javon Carter on the depth chart. Like that shouldn't even be that shouldn't even be a question. Almost winning the Chicago Bulls Central Haize there. But so it's good to hear the confidence is coming from Billy Donovan, from Arturas on Lonzo Ball. And I can't wait to see how that's addressed at Media Day, because I'm sure Lonzo's going to be there at Media Day. He may even get asked some questions, and we'll see how that goes for him as well. But that's my time for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another live episode of Locked On Bulls. We'll be back tomorrow with the Cognac Boys. We're playing buy and sell again, which is something we do every single Friday on this show now. That's now one of the recurring segments is buy or sell on Fridays. So if you got any interesting buy or sell questions you'd like to see me throw the Cognac Boys, go ahead and leave them in the comment section if you're on the YouTube side. If you're on the podcast side of things, we'll tell you how to get your thoughts in here in a second. But guys, you can follow me at CEO Haize. You can follow the podcast at Locked On Bulls. And yeah, we thank you guys, man. And we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Now go and check out Locked On NBA, where the Locked On NBA experts are breaking down the NBA 7 days a week. Make sure you guys are going over there next. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, y'all. Love you. Go Bulls. See red. Peace.